Happy Sunday, besties. Welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. I'm Kate, and we're here for another day, another chit-chat, another you and me session. Feels like it's been too long since I've said those words, and I think why that is kind of goes along with today's conversations. But I really want to say thanks for tuning in today. I've missed you, I've missed this, and I forget sometimes how both hard and easy it is to sit down and talk to the camera. So yeah, I really wanted to connect in with you this week. Talk about little bit about myself because, it's just a little bit about me. Mostly about you, but a little bit about me. And then we can kind of connect in about what's going to happen going forward for the podcast. So it's winter, right? You wouldn't believe it if you looked out there. I can literally just see blue sky. And the sun has been beautiful this weekend. But without the weekend, it was definitely winter this week. And even this morning, it was definitely winter. I think I'm struggling a lot this winter with just like being out of it in terms of motivation, inspiration, feeling tired all the time, just not doing the things that I know make me feel my best. And I want you to know that if that's you right now, you are not alone. Winter, some people thrive in, and the rest of us spend it counting down until the sky and the sun comes back out. Now, if we haven't met before, sorry, I just kicked my ring light. If we haven't met before, my name's Kate. I'm a 19-year-old girl from New Zealand. And every 2 weeks at least, we sit down and we have a chat, a bit about life, the things that are going on, and just how we can continue to navigate them. Sometimes I'll bring on a guest. Most of the time, you're stuck with me. But I love spending this time with you guys. So I want to talk more about the whole winter wearies, because it's been taking me by storm. Now, if you're like really confused and you maybe don't follow me on Instagram to get the gist of where the whole winter wearies thing comes from, let me explain. Some people, and the other way I sometimes call it is I call it the seasonal sads, or like people call it like seasonal depression. But at the moment, I'd like to call it the winter wearies because it's less about being depressed and miserable and more about being tired, unmotivated, uninspired, which I guess they kind of are similar, but it's not quite the same thing. And I don't want to take away from anyone who does experience seasonal depression and those harder feelings. Now, sleep in winter is both delightful and impossible. There is nothing better than being under like 5 million layers of blankets, my weighted blanket included, and so cozy at night, to then find that I have the worst sleep of my life. I have been sleeping terribly over these last few weeks. I am not kidding. All I've wanted to do is sleep. And even when I go to bed earlier and wake up later or do things that are supposed to improve my sleep, like getting off devices before bed and things like that, it was just changing nothing. So I started to get like frustrated, like this is just one more thing in the winter wearies that was getting me down. So what have I learned? I need to pull up my notes because I didn't come quite prepared for this. So excuse my panicking as I wait for my notes to appear. Oh, yes. Okay. Other reasons that you might be experiencing the winter wearies. Unmotivation, whether this is genuinely not being able to do the normal stuff. I sometimes find it harder in winter to want to do basic self-care, including, I'm going to be brutally honest, showering, brushing my teeth, doing my skincare, drinking enough water, eating well. Those things I find harder in winter, and it's just because I think for me it's about the fact that there's not enough light hours in the day, because I get up anywhere around 6:30 to 7 in the morning usually, and leave just after 7 in the morning to go to work. And by then the sun's like just coming up. So I've had like no sun hours before I go to work. Then I go to work at placement at the hospital, and then I get home and the sun is like just about to go down. And if it's a sunny day, it might last me an extra 20 minutes. But if it's like a classic winter day, then there's nothing going for me. I have no sunlight hours left in the day, which in my mind, my brain but goes, okay, well, what else can I do? I can scroll on my phone or I can go to sleep. The end. Capiche. Problem solved. But not problem solved. If you are trying to sleep more, sometimes I think I've discovered the problem is I was trying to sleep more, but in fact, I think I actually needed to sleep a little bit less to get better sleep. So at the moment, I've been going back to sleep a little bit later than what I had been and sleeping till my normal time, and I've actually found that my sleep quality has been better. So that's your advice today, that a lot of sleep does not always equal good sleep. If you feel really disconnected, or that you feel a desire to isolate this winter, in this time of cold, dark weariness. Sorry, Mum. It's my mother just talking in the background. But if you feel that desire, I dare you not to give into it. It's so easy to want to stay home, go to bed, like I said, go to school, go to work, go home and climb into bed. Eat dinner maybe, shower if you want to. You know, like I said, some of those normal things become hard because it's cold, it's often rainy and miserable weather, and there's no sunlight to do things with. Now, it also brings in what I like to call the "and what's the point" mindset. This is where you're like, I could do that, but what's the point? I could read a book, but what's the point? I could call a friend, what's the point? Like, even just little things don't make sense to you in this winter weary state. Now, I know that we're partway through winter now, so we're starting to get to that point where we can start to defrost off a little bit, but we do still have a month to go, so I want to help us navigate that space. First thing I'd say is acknowledge it. Realize that you're in a space, a mindset that doesn't quite serve you. Because I know that this doesn't serve the best version of myself. And I also want you to know that you don't have to be the best version of yourself all the time, because that's not realistic. So often we are thinking about, how can I improve myself? How can I change this? How can I set new goals? But sometimes what you need to do is go back to the foundational you. And I want to talk about that a little bit. One way you can manage the winter wearies is knowing what the foundational you is. Who she is, what she does. Is she the kind of girl who, even in the cold, will go for a 20-minute walk in the morning? Does she always eat breakfast every single day? Or is she a coffee and nothing else, which I wouldn't recommend kind of gal? Or do you always do your skincare in the morning or in the evenings? Do you like to read a book before bed? Do you like to allow yourself a little bit of scroll time? Do you like going to the gym or a workout class? Do you have a friend you like to meet up with once a week? Find those bare minimums. Find the things that you can do all year round that make you you. For me, let's think about what mine probably are, because I need to brainstorm too, right? I need somebody to bounce my ideas off. Firstly, I am a breakfast every day, pretty much kind of gal, with the rare occasion of an up and go in replacement of breakfast. Wouldn't recommend that because it doesn't usually do the trick either. I'm a breakfast kind of gal. I do like to have a little bit of TV or a little bit of scroll time in the morning. I like to go for at least a 20-minute walk throughout the day, whether that's before work, after work, or on my lunch break. As long as I just move my body for 20 minutes, that usually makes the whole day better and make me feel like me. And I do really need to touch base with somebody human throughout the day. That's not just my work colleagues, whether it's texting or calling a friend, whether it's sitting down and having a real convo with my parents at night, whether it's going to my young adults group, my youth group, or church. Those are the things that foundationally make me me. And obviously for me, also including in times of prayer when I drive into and from work and throughout the day. And just, I like to spend some time in my Bible in the evenings. Even if it's just 5 minutes, I know that that's a foundational thing that helps me overcome the desire to not do anything. The things that actually cause why we feel like this, it is actually shown that the lack of sunlight gives you less serotonin, which in turn gives you less like happy hormones, all those kind of things that make you motivated, make you inspired, make you want to do things all the time. When you spend more time indoors, because we tend to spend a lot more time indoors, whether it's cold, whether it's because it's cold, whether it's because it's rainy, whether it's because you're more likely to get sick and you need spending time inside, we spend more time on screens, and you have that endless dopamine seeking. You have you end up with headaches or dehydration. You end up feeling guilty and lazy because you've spent so much time on a screen and no time with yourself or no time doing anything else. I want you to also know, though, that if you think you spend too much time on your screens, that's okay. Just try doing 15 minutes less a day. My biggest thing I've learned is you can't just, it's like any kind of addiction, you can't go cold turkey. Like, you can't just cut that thing out entirely. A friend of mine, who I do stuff at church with, he bought a flip phone recently. Like, kind of a cool flip phone, I would like to say. And it's really funny because it looks really funny and classic when you see him whip out a flip phone. But he's done that because he feels that he spends too much time on screens and not enough time with God. And I really admire him for doing that. I couldn't go all or nothing, especially when I not long bought a new phone. But I am trying to reduce my screen time because I know I feel my best with less screens. I try to, when I'm spending time with family and friends, put the phone away. You don't need it to have a good time. You don't need it to communicate with them. Unless you're FaceTiming, that's a different story. I also find that when we get to winter, at least here in New Zealand, I apologise if you're listening elsewhere in the world for my Southern Hemisphere girlies, we find that when you get to this point of the year, it's also where you start to lose the motivation from your goals that you set at the start of the year anyway. Maybe you're not seeing progress as quickly as you thought you would. Heck, I'm going to be honest. I told you about my 12 habits of 2025 at the start of the year. And in June, I really lost my mojo for it. I don't think I've got a single sticker on that month chart. And that was actually a podcast-related goal, so I apologize for that. And this month, I only have been able to do this goal because it was one that is something I have got into a good habit of throughout the year anyway. Without that, I don't think I would have kept going. Now, we've kept talking about why. What are you feeling? How are you feeling it? And I've talked about one of my favorite things to do to help me bring back to myself what my foundational me is. Other ways that I think can help get through it is actually acknowledging that you are feeling this, that you're not just being lazy, that you are not just not good enough, that you're not broken, that you are just experiencing a season of a little bit of exhaustion, a little bit of rundownness, like so many others are. You are not lazy. You are just tired. You're just weary. Things are just that little bit harder, and they require a little bit more effort. So we said, go back to foundational you, acknowledge where you're at, why you're not lazy, that you're just experiencing a season of non-productivity, and not every season needs to be productive. Then we have setting like little goals for yourself. Even if you say, today, I'm going to go back to calling myself out today. I'm going to have a shower and do my skincare, shave my legs. I'm going to have an everything shower. That is my sole goal for the day, something like that. Or I'm going to start a new book today. I'm going to not use my phone in the evening. I'm going to eat 3 good meals today. Just like one goal that is potentially achievable that you can set your focus to for the day. Instead of trying to do everything, just try and do that one thing. You might surprise yourself. Honestly, I do say that I call it the winter wearies, and that some people can find that it's a seasonal depression. And if you are leaning more into that side of feeling depressed, that it really is getting you down and it's making you miserable, the winter wearies shouldn't be having you miserable. They should just be having you in a different season. But if you're feeling miserable and sad and depressed and anxious, please consider speaking to someone, whether that's a family member, a friend who maybe is an older friend, or even just a friend who you can communicate with without like putting it on them, a counselor, a therapist, your doctor. Let people know how you're feeling, because I can also assure you, you aren't alone. You won't be the only one. Now, I want to come back to this feeling, and I want you to know, hold on, I'm just going to check that I'm not going on too long. Oh, I have already gone on for a wee while. Hold on, I will conclude with my points. So, what we were saying was there's like 5 things you can do to help yourself in the season of the winter wearies. You can come back to foundational you. What does she do? You can acknowledge the season you're in and not shame yourself for it. You can find one task in a day that you can actually achieve. You can speak to someone and let them know how you're feeling if it's bordering on seasonal depression. And the last one I really want to add is just when the good days come, when you feel good in yourself for a day, whether like for me, this weekend has been good because the sun's been out, I've made the most of it, but make the most of the good days. Take advantage of when you feel at your best, and know that you're allowed to feel your best some days and not other days. You're not broken. You're a human being with feelings, with emotions, with struggles, with needs, with desires. And that's okay. We work through it. Not every season is meant to be the same. This winter may look completely different to next winter, may look completely different to last winter, but it's a different season of our lives that brings different challenges, different successes. And I want you to know that just because you don't feel like you're succeeding doesn't mean you're losing either. Now, my sweet girls, you deserve the world, and I want you to be able to give it to yourselves. I want you to show yourself the love that you deserve this week. I appreciate you more than I can ever put into words. Having this space to share with you and hopefully help you feel less alone makes me feel less alone, and what an honor it is. So if you ever need to talk to somebody who will listen unbiasedly, maybe has a word of advice, or someone who can just pray for you in a hard time, my messages are always open. And if you want to see little more snippets of my life and see how I'm combating the winter wearies, make sure you go and follow me on TikTok or Instagram at It's a Girl Thing Pod. And yeah, send me an email, a message, a DM, anything, anytime, and I will get back to you. You're amazing, you are loved, and have the best week.